Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things. And we see them in today. We got a pretty interesting show in store for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel, and also check out the DREAMERSPRO podcast that we have pinned in the comments below. So yesterday, of course, was game one of the NBA Finals, and I actually watched the game on NBA.com. Right, so usually what happens is during commercials, you just keep the game in the arena, and during the halftime show, they don't show it, obviously, because you're not watching it on a particular network. You're watching it at NBA.com. But yesterday's game, I believe, was being carried by ESPN, and ESPN was in charge of the halftime show. I think Josh Hart was there, Stephen A. Smith was there, a few other voices. I think Mike Wilbon might have been there, and Kendrick Perkins might have been there. I may be wrong. But we produced an earlier show today that was centered on the news that TNT, Warner Brothers, could still be in the running to get, to be a part of the new NBA deal that it has renegotiated with the major networks. And then I read a comment from someone under that show, and he or she said, well, please, we need TNT's halftime show because ESPN just had an absolutely horrendous halftime show. And I'm like, what is he referring to? So I go on the internet and I start looking at other news sources, and I see them talking about it. So I had to hunt down this information to see exactly what they were referring to. And I came across an article from awfulannouncing.com that was essentially explaining what it took place. And essentially what happened was ESPN's entire halftime show consisted of four segments, right, that lasted no longer than about a minute or so. And what would happen is they would play a segment, and then right after that segment, like a 30-second spot, they'll run a bunch of ads. Then they'll come back and they'll run a 22-second spot. Like Josh Hart gave an analysis. It only lasted 22 seconds. And then he comes back and they do another commercial. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, there was basically zero analysis or breakdown of the game. So then I came across an interview from Charles Barkley on Outkick, Outkick.com, their YouTube channel, where they were talking to him about a range of things. We're going to get into some of the other things that he discussed on that platform. But then they asked him about, the NBA's coverage, ESPN's coverage of the NBA Finals. And when it came time for Charles Barkley to speak, he absolutely went off on the horrible coverage that ESPN has been doing in terms of covering the NBA Finals. So those are the comments that we want to get into. But before we even get into what Charles Barkley had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, Game Time, who's the official sponsor of today's show. Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier than ever before. For example, I am super excited about the games between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. With Game Time tickets, I can easily pick the best tickets for me. I love that I can choose between different deals. I have the option to select the cheaper deal, the best option deal, or my favorite, the flash deal. The flash deal gives me the option to find discounts that I can only find on Game Time. Once I select the ticket I want, I can view my seat. And it's not just restricted to the NBA. I can also look for the best ticket deals for other sports like football, baseball, or concerts, or comedy or theater shows. Included in my purchase, I also have a 24-hour return guarantee, a lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what Charles Barkley had to say on Outkick, and then want to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to what Charles Barkley had to say here.
Danny Hurley. If you were going to advise Danny Hurley, I got two questions for you. What would you tell him? And the second thing is, Tom Izzo told me when he was looking at the Cavs job, way back, that he couldn't get a conversation with LeBron. And if he's like, look, if I can't talk to LeBron, I'm not going to the Cavs. How important would LeBron's approval be at this point in his career for Danny Hurley?
Well, I think it would be really important. Okay, but Dan, let me tell you something. Number one, I love Danny Hurley. I love what he's doing at UConn. But I was so mad at ESPN yesterday. I'm not going to lie. I love Danny Hurley. This has nothing to do with Danny Hurley. And good luck with him if he goes to the Lakers. But I was so pissed with game one of the finals and game one of the Stanley Cup finals coming on. For them to spend the first hour talking about what if Danny Hurley goes to the Lakers, I was so pissed yesterday. I had to turn my TV off. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, this is how stupid they are. I like, what? Y'all got the Stanley Cup finals and the NBA finals. And y'all talk about a team that's irrelevant. And I'm like, that whoever's doing that programming got to be the stupidest, most bonehead people in the world. I'm like, oh, if he goes, we'll talk about it. But to just go on there and blow air for an hour and then say, oh, by the way, we got game one of the finals coming up tonight. I was like, who in the hell is running their programming over there? I was like, if okay, there's nothing but speculation. Okay, but you got game one of the finals and you got game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I'm really pumped about because, man, you got Florida who lost in the finals last year, and you got a whole country of people, and you got those games as a network. And you spent the whole time talking about what if Danny Hurley goes to the Lakers. I'm like, what kind of idiots are running this network? I said, that was crazy. Like I say, I love Danny Hurley. I love his family. I love his story. I love him because he's a basketball purist. But I just thought it was so stupid at ESPN yesterday. It's like, wait a minute, y'all got the biggest game of the NBA season coming on tonight. And y'all spent the first hour talking about if Danny Hurley goes to the Lakers. I was like, come on, man. So to answer your question, man, I love Danny Hurley. He going to have LeBron's approval. I understand why we just lost the greatest college football coach ever in Nick Saban. I know Jay Wright was kind of feeling that type of way. These NCAA idiots and fools, well, I should just call them jackasses like they are. I'm trying to figure out how we have screwed up college sports. Like, I said one day, I would call it the Wild Wild West, but that would be disrespectful to the Wild Wild West. Like, I have no idea. How did we ruin college sports?
So you heard what Charles Barkley had to say. What are my thoughts on this? I don't think this is anything new if we're talking about him discussing why ESPN spends so much time covering the Lakers. He called them irrelevant. That's not a surprise. The reason it's not a surprise because this same thing happened just last year. Just last year, they were talking about the Lakers, right? And it was one of the reasons why Denver Nuggets head coach Mike Malone was poking fun at the Los Angeles Lakers. Charles Barkley was complaining about it. At various points throughout the NBA season, I've heard people like Kendrick Perkins. I think Mike Wilbon himself has complained bitterly about why ESPN spends so much time talking about the Lakers. So that's not the first time I've heard something like that. But in terms of ESPN's coverage, in terms of their halftime show of the NBA Finals, I think what happened was, those YouTube channels that have like these long shows and they put 3,000 ads? That's essentially what ESPN did. ESPN tried to pack in as many ads as they could get into that halftime show in order to make the most amount of money they possibly could. And that is essentially what happened. They saw that as an opportunity to make a whole bunch of money, and they used that halftime show to do that. Now, in terms of those 4 segments, that is quite frankly a joke. They didn't even spend 5 minutes talking about the game. It was just a bunch of nonsense. Essentially a bunch of nonsense. And for them to be called out by people, it shows you that, well, ESPN just paid over $2 billion again, or for I think 2.8 billion for the rights for the NBA. So if you weren't happy with the coverage that you just saw in the NBA Finals, expect to see some more of that in the future, because that is exactly what's going to happen. ESPN is going to continue to do this, right? They paid for it. They paid for the rights, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So was it shameful? Absolutely. Absolutely. But they saw it as an opportunity to make a lot of money. And a recent report just came out that we're going to get to a little bit later today, which talks about some ratings. I think that's going to basically explain probably why they were so aggressive with basically spamming ads during the halftime show. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about what Charles Barkley had to say? What do you think about today's show and in our analysis? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comments section, and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.